Hi, I'm Wendell Steinhauer, President of the New Jersey Education Association. NJEA is committed to celebrating excellence in education. That's why we're proud to support Teacher Appreciation Week, a special series produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation celebrating New Jersey's talented and dedicated teachers.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, Englewood Hospital and Medical Center, Montclair State University, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, Verizon, and by the North Ward Center. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands, and by New Jersey Family Magazine and njfamily.com.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No. People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
We're pleased to welcome Michael Markman, who is an art teacher in K to 8th grade at the Dr. Michael Conti School in Jersey City and the CEO of Markman Design. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good, good. This is part of our classroom close-up initiative we do in cooperation with the New Jersey Education Association. We're about to see a clip that tells a powerful story about you. When did you know you loved art?
Oh, it's when I was a young child. I drew a picture of Superman on my mother's wall, and my mother loved it, and my father freaked out.
How old were you?
I was about 3, 4 years old. I was drawing all my life.
You were into it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're inspiring young people every day, and we're about to tell a story. And by the way, this book, Surviving the Storm, is about a powerful experience getting through Superstorm Sandy. But let's take a look at the work that our partners at the NJEA are doing in connection with Classroom Close-Up that tells your story better than we could. Go ahead.
This is a comic book that I created called Surviving the Storm. I wrote this during Hurricane Sandy. It was very traumatic during Hurricane Sandy. We lost power for 9 days, and we had to figure out things to do to keep us sane. I needed something as therapy so I can get through the trauma of not having power for 9 days and trying to keep my family calm as well. Every day, I'd wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning as soon as the light would come out, and I would sit downstairs in the kitchen by myself, and I would draw out the events that happened the day before.
We went downstairs to turn off the alarm and put as much food as we could in the freezer. I found a gas station that was open. The children act out and read the story. And then we have a discussion about what obstacles have they faced in their life? How did they overcome those obstacles? In 2nd grade, I had trouble reading, and so I overcame it by my mom.
And from that discussion, it leads into them writing a story with Miss Faisal about their life and their obstacle. Are you guys excited to do a comic strip?
Yeah.
All right.
It was something he was inspired about during Hurricane Sandy. It was a real-life experience. He wrote it. He introduced it to me. Immediately, I wanted to tie it in with the genre of personal narratives for my students. Eventually, what we're going to do is hone in on the characteristics that he uses and use author's craft, right from Mr. Markman, to create our very own comic.
I work with Ms. Faisal, and we comprise a curriculum and a unit dealing with how art is a form of communication and how comic books can promote literacy. And then we've implemented that curriculum into our classrooms, and we've been co-teaching and developing this project, and it's been a wonderful experience for myself, Ms. Faisal, and for the children, because it's allowed them to express ideas and communicate thoughts in ways that they might not do in a normal setting in an educational environment.
My comic strip is about me being bullied in 1st grade. And it was just nerve-wracking because I couldn't tell anybody, because I believe that my comic, unlike any other, would inspire somebody to be bold and stand up for themselves. After I told my story, it actually made me feel better because I know it will set an example for another boy or girl out there.
There are many children and people who are lost. They might have a handicap, they might be depressed, they might not be a literary person. Their voice is important. They have abilities that may run dormant, but we're trying to help tap into them and bring them out. And I'm gonna make sure they're doing their best to keep creating and being innovators for as long as I have them in my grasp. Then we'll see what happens, but the future looks good today.
What's that like for you?
It was wonderful. What started out as something personal that I was doing just to entertain myself and my family became something that moved people, and it became a voice for people, and it became a voice for children. So I felt honored that I was able to give these people that experience and for children to take it and let it evolve.
Now, you've seen this classroom close-up piece many times, and you're still moved.
Yeah.
Even today.
Yeah. I mean, as an artist and a teacher, sometimes you work in a vacuum, and not everyone appreciates what you do in either field. And art sometimes is looked upon as something that's decorative. It's not looked upon as something that can affect major change in the world or in the classroom. So when it gets exposure, I don't just feel good for me, I feel good for the institution of education, because art can propel, the arts can propel education.
You believe that?
I know it. I know it.
How do you know it?
I've worked in schools, I've worked in college, I've worked in juvenile institutions, and everywhere I go, I see how self-expression uplifts people.
Yeah. Your passion for teaching.
A passion for teaching, a passion for creation.
Passion for changing kids' lives.
Absolutely. They're the future. We have to affect them. They're going to take over one day. It's going to be their world. We got to leave a foundation for them.
You know you have the gift, right?
Well, I'm a humble person. I don't like to say that I have a gift. I say
to
that
teach.
I say I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I like to say that.
You're giving a lot to these kids. You keep giving it every day. And you honor us by the work you do every day. And you honor the teaching profession.
Thank you.
As well as the organization you represent. And anything you want to say to finally all the teachers out there you represent? 30 seconds.
Keep on believing what you do. Keep on working hard. We recognize that you work Sundays and while you watch the football game, and we know what you do. We appreciate it, and the kids appreciate it too.
In public television, we appreciate public school teachers.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Steve Adubato here at the 163rd New Jersey Education Association Convention in beautiful Atlantic City at Convention Hall. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Mark Weber, music educator in Warren Township, and he's a blogger known as the Jersey Jazzman. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Where'd you get that moniker?
I'm a jazz musician. That's my training. I played for years and then started taking on students and decided I love teaching kids, and I've got the best job in the world. I teach something I love and I teach to kids. It's the perfect job.
So here's the thing, and by the way, people can check out your website. We'll put it up there because you talk about a lot of interesting issues. You believe that educators need to be more engaged in conversation, public conversation about important issues like charter schools, school funding, pensions, teacher evaluations, because?
Because we're the experts. I mean, who else should be leading this conversation except us? You wouldn't set medical policy without talking to doctors. You wouldn't set legal policy without talking to lawyers. You wouldn't set standards for building bridges without talking to engineers and architects. But over and over again, Steve, we've been left out of the conversation. When Governor Christie put together his Educator Effectiveness Task Force, there wasn't one NJEA member on that task force. There was only one working teacher who was on that task force. That makes no sense to me. How could we possibly come up with good education policy unless we teachers are involved?
So let me ask you, as devil's advocate, do you mean teachers getting political, if you will, in the classroom or just in public forums?
Well, some people would say that teaching is in and of itself a political act. I work very hard, and I think the vast majority of my colleagues work very hard to make students feel like all points of view
Right.
are acceptable, although it's our primary job to teach critical thinking. So
Define that for people, critical thinking.
critical thinking is being able to look at the issues, being able to look at the facts, to be able to determine what is a fact and what is an opinion. I think that's a core skill that we teach all kids. I certainly try to do that in my classroom. And it's important that they do this in order for them to become citizens, in order for them to really engage in democracy. Democracy doesn't work unless you have an electorate that is able to think critically. And that is the most important thing that I think we as teachers do. Subsequent to that, we have to have policies that allow for us to do those things. So teachers have got to be involved in the making of policy.
Real quick, on one of these issues, I'm curious about this. By the way, for those of us who have kids in public schools, we want to make sure that all those kids have an opportunity to express their point of view. Teachers express their views sometimes in front of students, or no?
Well, yeah, sure, but again, it has to be done in a climate of respect.
And safe for the students to express their point of view, right?
I'll tell you what, Steve, this is the big thing that concerns me about what happened on Tuesday.
Okay, by the way, we should make it clear, Tuesday is not just any Tuesday. We're taping this a few days after a historic and significant presidential election where there is a new president-elect as we do this program, Donald Trump. Why is that so significant? And by the way, how would you even talk about that in a classroom?
Well, we're already having lots of conversations about that. Students have to feel safe. That has to be the number one thing for students. And right now, I wish President-elect Trump the best. I sincerely wish him the best.
Because that's the best for the country.
Absolutely. But this campaign was extraordinarily ugly. I don't think I've seen a campaign this ugly in my lifetime. And there are some very dark forces that have been riled up, and there is some language and some action out there that is unacceptable, and it is going to put our students in fear, make them feel unsafe. We cannot allow that. Our students have to feel safe. If a child shows up to school and she's wearing a hijab, she has got to feel safe. If a boy walks to school in a hoodie and he walks through a neighborhood where people don't look like he looks, he has to feel safe. If a child doesn't conform to our society's expectations about gender, that child still has to feel safe. That's our job as teachers. Now, some people might say that's a political act. I don't.
You don't see that.
You know what? Maybe I do, but I don't care because the safety of our children takes precedence over everything else.
And play devil's advocate. If a student were to argue that they believe that the president-elect had policies that they agreed with, that student had to feel safe.
Of course. Of course. No, we're here to teach kids how to be citizens. We're here to teach them how to discuss.
That's critical thinking.
Absolutely.
And they would have to articulate a point of view with facts and an argument that, I'm not going to say makes sense because certain things make sense to one person, doesn't make sense to another.
Certain things make sense to a 12-year-old that don't necessarily make sense to an adult.
That's hard, though.
It is hard, of course.
Because the adult has to say to the 12-year-old, well, that's not logical. And to the 12-year-old, what do they say? You're laughing, why? Because I have a 12-year-old at home, so go ahead.
You're right, it is hard. Teaching's hard. This is
Explain
not
to folks why
job.
teaching is hard.
Teaching is hard because you are trying to balance all of these forces. There have been studies that have shown that teachers make literally thousands of decisions every week. And the stakes are very high. You are dealing with children. So yes, it is a hard job. We need the best and the brightest to come into the teaching force. We need to be looking at policies right now that we have to decide, is this making the job attractive? You know, and then we get into a whole bunch of things. Is taking away our pensions making this job attractive? Is talking about how we're getting paid too much making this job attractive? Is cutting our benefits making this job attractive? This is a hard job.
That's why testing matters and
I think
standardized testing.
Testing is...
How's that been for you? In all candor, forget about the public policy argument. Get it down to a more granular level.
Sure.
The standardized testing of students, the degree of which it is done, how it is implemented, what is it really like for a teacher?
The test is becoming everything, even in an affluent district like mine, which wasn't the case
Describe your
before.
district.
My district is quite affluent, but we have a lot of students who are coming from different backgrounds. We actually do have a fair number of students who don't speak English at home. We're an immigrant, we have an immigrant community, but we're a fairly affluent community too. The challenges in school districts that do not have the affluence are, of course, ramped up to a much higher level. I think it's important that teachers like me in districts where I am stand up for my colleagues and not allow this narrative of failure that's gone on to go unchallenged, because I think it's absolutely
But you
incorrect.
do believe in some standardized testing?
I believe in some testing that could have some accountability, but there's two things I'd say about that. First of all, we could have that level of testing for far less money and far less intrusion. We could sample, we could do all kinds of statistical things. The second thing is that if the tests are set up so that there's always going to be winners and there's always going to be losers, in other words, you have a bell curve shape, what's called a normal distribution,
Yes.
then you're always going to have losers, even if the schools that are losers are still doing their job and still educating children. I think that's one thing that has been missed in the policy debate about testing and about our schools in general.
You have to learn to say what's on your mind.
I do.
I'm joking. Listen, you love what you do, don't you?
I do.
Jazz, and you love your jazz. You love blogging, right?
Well, it depends on whether my wife is you need to get up and go mow the lawn.
Yes, but you also love your teaching.
I do.
Tell everyone where you teach.
I teach at Mount Horeb School in Warren, New Jersey, and to all my students out there, I love you. Be safe and listen in class, okay?
And when it's said right into the camera, it means even more. Mark Weber is a music educator and Warren Township blogger, known as the Jersey Jazzman. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
I appreciate
All the best.
it. Thank you.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are at the 163rd New Jersey Education Association convention, beautiful Atlantic City, with Sean Spiller, who is the Secretary-Treasurer of the NJEA. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
By the way, we should also make it clear we are neighbors in our hometown of beautiful Montclair, and you serve on the Township Council.
I do. Yeah, my great pleasure.
So you decided to go into education because?
You know what, I always thought that for me, the people that had the most impact on my life were my parents. And beyond that, in college, I played hockey and I was coached by a gentleman who really I learned so much from, and he was a high school science teacher. And I remember for years I would go to these practices or we'd have our games and I'd listen to him, and you just got that feeling of what a difference he was making day in and day out with the kids that he taught. And I'd hear the stories, and it just got me excited to really move towards teaching. And I went the exact same way. I became a high school science teacher just like him, and I can only hope that I've also had an impact on hopefully a lot of lives.
So the people around you said, come on, Sean, why don't you just go make a lot of money in corporate America? Oh, you're shaking your head because they did say it.
Yeah, well, I saw my friends who were doing it.
And you
know?
said?
I said, look, this is about the same reason why I started it, and I saw the difference he was making. And when you're in education, it is not the best paid profession. It is certainly underpaid for the work that it is, but you get such a reward. You get such a reward from the kids every single day, so it's absolutely worth it.
Describe it.
It's the feeling that it doesn't matter what kind of day you're having. You're coming in, you might be a little down, something may upset you, and you walk in and a student comes in and they just say something that makes you smile, or they ask a question. It can be about the littlest of things. One that I'm thinking of as I'm even telling you the story, I can't remember why I was a little off that day or felt a little down, but I walked in and I was teaching freshman biology, and the kids are there, we're about to go through something, and she comes in and she's just excited about whatever it is we're talking about. And the other kids are like, come on, don't be so excited, calm down. But she hadn't given that up, and she was like, no, I love this. And you just looked at that and said, that's what it's all about. The kids are so excited, they want to learn, and you're helping to help them along the way.
And science.
Yeah.
Why science?
I always found it interesting. I think that it's for me, it's just an exciting thing to do, and they say probably, you enjoy teaching what you enjoy doing, and for me, I think that just the ability to work with your hands and do so many things with experiments and learn through that manner, I find really appealing.
Talk to me about getting involved in the New Jersey Education Association. It's one thing to teach, it's one thing to make a difference in the lives of students, which is huge, but then you decide to get involved in the professional association, the organization that represents educators because?
Well, as a teacher even, I would go to a lot of different workshops and conferences that we would have, a lot of it with professional development and some of it with advocacy. And for me, there really wasn't that much of a difference in terms of when you're fighting for students and then you're also fighting for the individuals who are in those classrooms or in those buildings. There's a lot of overlap there. You know, it's the same things. I always talk about, you know, teachers' working conditions or students' learning conditions, and it's so true though. You know, you look at yourself and say, I understand that we're there and we're focused on the kids, and that's what any educator will tell you. You know, they'd love to just shut that door and do that work. But I also got that there were so many outside of that room that made a difference on what happened there and what I could do or what I couldn't do, and we need to be involved there as well.
What do you hear from most of your members in terms of their number one or two concerns? They say, hey, listen,
Lack of respect.
Lack of respect.
Lack of respect.
Talk about that.
Look, and I don't want to go too political, but the bottom line is when you've had a governor for so many years just, railing against the profession, demonizing the work, calling people who dedicate their lives to people's children and helping them do well greedy and so many other words that are much worse.
Excuse me, devil's advocate, the governor would argue he was never talking about teachers. He would be talking about the organization and his differences politically or philosophically, but never teachers, you say?
I say there is no distinction. They are the same thing. You know, teachers are what make up the teachers' union. You know, that always bothered me in the sense of, I'm a high school science teacher. You know, I'm also one of the officers of the association. We have other teachers who run for and are elected by our members. Our delegate assembly made up of all, educators, not just teachers. I happen to be a teacher, but we have all of these individuals who are all educators in this state who make up that union that we're labeled as, but we're the same teacher or the same custodian or bus driver or whatever that may be, but we have another hat that we wear because we also advocate for ourselves. So when someone tries to say, oh, I'm not talking about the people in the classrooms or in the buildings or on the buses, I'm talking about the union, who makes up that union? That we are the same thing.
But respectfully, let me ask you this, Sean. What about legitimate differences of opinion on certain very complex, controversial, and difficult public policy issues? People just have a different point of view. How comfortable having those very different points of view with leaders of the professional association that represents teachers? Fair game.
Yeah, fair game. I think absolutely. Differences of opinion, conversations, disagreements are totally...
Spirited disagreements.
Spirited. And I think that's a key piece, though. Spirit is different than disrespectful or demeaning. And I think that some of the word choice, when you're a leader, and I think that, when you wear a hat and you have a responsibility to the office that you hold, you have an obligation also to treat that office with the respect that it deserves and it has earned over time. And I think there are words that matter. And certainly I can disagree with you on an issue, or a governor may disagree with us on an issue. You can have that conversation. You can be very spirited in that disagreement. You can argue for your points, and we will certainly make ours. But it's when you insert other phrases, other words, or you demean more than you debate, I think that's when you have a problem.
There's a new president coming in. He may have even taken office by the time this airs, January 20th. Words matter. We don't know how things will be by the time this airs from when we were taping it. Your thoughts about his presidency and its connection to education, public education?
That's a tough question. It's a tough question.
Have you thought about it in the last few days?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so tough. It's hard for me to wrap my emotions around that, exactly what I'm feeling.
Excuse me, do you think you'll feel differently a month from now?
I hope so.
Why?
I'm frankly a little worried, a little scared. I hear somebody, when we talked about just a moment ago, words matter. I hear somebody who, African-American male, educator, somebody who has fought for inclusiveness and bringing people together, and I just hear some of the divisive, again, message that's come out. I worry a little bit, and I hope that we move beyond that. I think the message of change is not one that anyone would object to in terms of Washington getting things done and people being frustrated that there hasn't been a listening or a concern for the people's voice. I get that, and I support that mentality, but the way it was done and the other pieces that surround it, that's what concerns me, and I do hope I feel differently a few months from now.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, Englewood Hospital and Medical Center, Montclair State University, New Jersey Sharing Network, Verizon, and by the North Ward Center. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
New Jersey is a leader in solar power, and PSE&G is doing its part. With 24 solar installations in New Jersey, projects that are giving landfills new purpose and turning former brownfields green. Solar powers more than our homes and schools and businesses. It powers our economy by creating jobs right here in the Garden State. PSE&G, proud to support New Jersey.